Okay, so now that I have the part done of the adjusting arm, I'm ready to detail it with center lines, center marks, and also dimensions. And again, I'm just trying to kind of replicate this so that if we were to give this to somebody, they could manufacture this. This is like an old drafting tool, like a wrench, communicated with sizes so we know how big it is. First thing you want to do is your center marks. Because this is a circle, we actually don't have too many center lines. We're going to have a lot of crosses for the middles of each circle. So I'm going to start with my center layer, and I'm going to go on the Annotate tab. On the Annotate tab, we have a lot of dimension and detailing tools, including center mark, which puts a nice cross on the middle of a circle. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to start to click all my curves and my circles. Like there's one here, there. And actually this one I can click the little, but I'm actually going to click the big one because that'll take care of both. And then this one down here. Now the center mark does a pretty good job. The only thing you're going to have to do, you will have to clean up some of the corners. Remember we talked about you don't want to connect to any corners. So AutoCAD, it connected it here, so I need to select the center mark, pull the grip, in this case, back to the right a little bit. This one here needs to be pulled down. This one here needs to be pulled up. Those are grips that we can move around. But just make sure that none of the corners are connected. You have a little space there. Also, you want to fill in some of the space. Like we want one solid line going across here. So like if I click on this center mark, I can bring this over to the right a little bit. Hit escape. Click this one, bring it over to the right to connect to that one. Don't draw one line all the way through though. Even here, I can bring this one down. This one I can bring up. And finally, since this one is kind of still small, I'm going to bring this one up to match that one. And then bring this down. So those are grips that you can adjust and make longer or shorter. Now that I have all my center marks on there, I'm going to go back to Home, switch to Dimension Layer. Make sure you switch to your Dimension Layer. And I'm going to use my dimension tools. We have linear, angle that we used on the last base plate drawing. Also, we have radius and diameter that we'll have to use quite a bit on here. So I'll start with some of the linears. For instance, there's that 4.5 on this side. So I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, drag it out a grid and a half, which puts me right about there. There's also this really tiny 1/2 inch dimension up here, which I'll go from here to there. Bring it up, and here you have the option of leaving it in the middle like this, or you can drag it out to the side. Right there. There's 2 on the bottom for the 2 and 2.5 dimensions, so from here to there is 2. Now here I want to go down a grid and a half from the bottom of the part, so that would be right here would be the bottom of the part. 1, 2, 3, grid and a half, or 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to go from here to there. And then finally the 7-inch dimension, which would be from the left edge to this center point here. And I'm going to go down to there. What you don't want to do is this. You can see I have my nice center marks, my nice center lines. If I was doing that same 7-inch dimension, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't start it here, there, and then I bring it down. Yeah, it's still 7. However, look at this. We covered up our part. We crossed over our part. We lost our center mark part of it. We lost part of this center mark because I started the dimension at the center points. You want it, so I'm going to delete this one. You want to start them lower. See how I started it here, and then I started it there. And again, those grips can be moved. Like I could adjust the grip if needed. In fact, I'm going to adjust the grip on this center mark because I don't like how this line's going past that. So I can click this grip. I'm going to bring this one up to about right there. So that looks pretty good for the linears. Now I need to use my radius and diameter dimensions to finish this. So I switch this to, actually we can do the angular really quick. That 45-degree angle would be clicking this solid line here, this vertical line, and the angled line. And just kind of drag it out, eyeball it a little bit where you think it should go. About right there is good. Now I'm going to use, let's see, diameter and radius, because again, I have a diameter here, I have a radius, got some more radius dimensions over there. And actually, I can't forget about this 1-inch dimension right here. Maybe I'll do that last little linear really quick. So here, I'm going to switch this to linear. And I'm going to go from, let's say, right here to here. And I'm going to make that 1 inch in the middle. Now we'll do a diameter for this circle. So I click on the circle. And I'm going to bring it out at a 45-degree angle. This is a leader dimension. I don't want to go straight up like this or straight over like this or like that or like that. You want to go roughly 45. You be the judge. Right there. And a radius for the arc. And bring that one down to about here. You notice it doesn't put the line in here all the way. That's fine. We're pointing to the arc, which is what we want with the arrow. I need another radius on this side for the 1.25 inches. Right there is good. I need this 1-inch radius. Sometimes I zoom in a little bit just to be able to place it better. Right there looks good. And I think that takes care of all my dimensions on this, other than one last dimension, which says stock 1/8 inch thick. That tells us how thick the part would be. So for that, we're going to use a text box. So I'm going to actually switch my layer now to text. I'm going to use the text tool. And I'm just going to drag a box roughly about in this general area. The main thing you got to be aware of is the size. You'll notice that AutoCAD defaults to this kind of random number of 0.1734. All our text size should be 1/8 of an inch, which is 0.125. So type in 0.125, hit enter, and then you can type in whatever you want to say. In this case, stock 1/8 inch thick. Hit the green check mark to close the text editor, and that's it. And then here too, if it's too high or something, you can always click the grip and move it a little lower if you wish. Okay, so that completes the dimensions and center marks for the adjusting arm. Last thing would be the layouts. We want to, for this one, you are going to use, let me make this bigger. We're going to use ANSI B, which would be right here. Let's see if I can make that bigger and close out of this. I'm not sure what. Okay, we're going to use ANSI B. Okay, so ANSI B. And there's ANSI A is 8.5 by 11. There's portrait, landscape. 11 by 17 is ANSI B. The same thing you did for base plate. So remember, you need to click into the viewport in order to basically activate the drawing. So I'm going to double click in here. See the red viewport is highlighted. Now I'm going to double click my wheel on my mouse. When I double click the wheel on my mouse, there's my drawing now. Again, I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller. The main thing is we want it to be 1-to-1 scale right here. See, right now I'm at 1.13. I want that to be exactly 1-to-1, just like the last drawing. Once it's centered and set, and again, I can pan by pushing the wheel in. I can pan. Once it's set, it's still 1-to-1. I click in the gray area. And then from there, I just need to fill in my title block by editing the X's. So course, again, same as last time. It's going to be CAD 1. You're going to put your name under drawn, period, whatever period you are in. Seat would be either, 1 through 20, wherever you're sitting, or an R for remote. This is now drawing number 2. Again, keep up with the drawings. They're all in your packet. Adjusting arm is number 2. Title, all capital letters. Scale is going to be 1-to-1. Put in today's date, which would be November 2nd. And you hit this kind of close out of it. Once you're done, make sure you always save it when you're completely finished. And that will complete the adjusting arm drawing.